witness a very exciting event for us, something that we started about 5 years ago with the beautiful dedication of our field house. The Hall of Fame went hand in hand, and since that time, it's grown larger, more interest, and certainly well-deserving, honoring our former Oneonta alums who distinguished themselves on the playing field or in the coaching ranks. You know, I was thinking as I was coming over here today, and again, for some of you who don't know who I am Steve Garner, and I am the Director of Athletics. I was thinking that about 35 years ago, I was playing high school football over in a little town called Trumansburg, and I was coming off the field after another loss, and my dad came up to me and, he said, Steve, good game, and I started in saying, well, it was the officials. The officials cost us the game. Then I said it was the weather. I said my legs didn't feel very good. I said my uniform was too tight. And he stopped me in mid-sentence and he said, Steve, listen. He said, when you win, you say little. And when you lose, you say less. And I don't know what it is. It might have been that moment in time, but I've always remembered what he said to me. And I try to apply that as our athletic program and our athletes and our coaches and our inductees. Our inductees are people who didn't have to say a lot. Their actions spoke louder. And you've heard that many times. Let your actions speak louder than words. Other people will trumpet your honors. And that's what we're here today to do. They don't have to speak. We'll speak for them. And we're so proud to have them back with us today. Before we get started, though, we have some honored guests in the audience, some returning Hall of Famers. And what I would like to do is I would like to recognize you and have you stand, if you will. Starting out with Don Axtell. Don, would you stand, please? Please stay standing. Garth Stan. Garth. Alex Brandon. Alex. Kevin Cochier. If you would stay standing, please. Kevin Cochier in the back. Eileen Caldwell-Jones. Eileen. Keith McCarthy. Keith. Mike Pasinilak. Michael, please stand. Don Ball. Donald. Thank you so much for returning, and congratulations to you. Thank you for coming back. Today we're going to honor 7 outstanding individuals who represent some of the best that this college has to offer, not only in athletics, but in coaching. Athletics has always played a very important part in the mission of this college, from the days of Hall of Famer Hal Chase to today's ever-improving athletic program. Oneonta has distinguished itself in the local, state, and national levels. We are here today to honor some of those individuals who have made us proud to wear the red and white and be called the Red Dragons. To give us our official welcome, it is my honor to introduce our president, Dr. Alan Donovan. Dr. Donovan.
Thank you so much. Let's get one item of business out of the way right now. Both soccer teams are going to win today. This is always a special tradition in our college, and I want to congratulate all the inductees who are present, and a special welcome to their families and their friends who are here as well. Your accomplishments, both as varsity athletes or as coaches, as well as in your other activities, have made your college so very proud of you. Then, too, you have enhanced in many ways the reputation of this great institution. This is a good time to take note of the importance of a strong, well-directed, and successful varsity athletic program. What is interesting to me is that so many of the peers in our sector of higher education with strong freshman classes also have, as we do, a strong athletic program. Gone are the days, I think, when any institution such as ours can afford not to support varsity sports as part of its overall success. A good athletic program attracts, retains, and trains in life skills the kind of students we want as Oneonta alumni. It also adds tremendously to the institutional spirit and aids in our cause, as I mentioned, in a very competitive admissions market, and of course we're doing very well there. It brings good publicity and visibility of the most positive kind. Let me refer just for a second to just a few of the many honors our athletes and teams have won in the past few years. 6 students chosen for academic All-American recognition since 1999. 11 athletes designated as National All-Americans, again since 1999. Since 1997, 13 coaches chosen as conference or other league coaches. 33 students chosen as Regional All-Americans since 1997, and we've had since that date 11 conference team champions. That's very impressive. So for those of you returning to our campus, especially our inductees and their families and friends, I want you to know that our athletic program is not only alive, but very well, and winning much more than its share in contests, and also concentrating on academics. Today is the celebration of our new members of the Hall of Fame, and after we induct them, we'll now have 55 members enshrined down there. But I'm also just as proud that we honor them as well by continuing the kind of accomplishments they represented in their time here. Thanks and welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Donovan. Before we get started, we have one more Hall of Famer that snuck in the back door here. And he's a special Hall of Famer because of a family situation last year was not able to be here. And someone in his place gave a very moving speech on his behalf, but I certainly am glad to see him here today, and I want to recognize him, George Worthmeyer. George, you're over here in the back. I'd also like to take an opportunity to recognize the Hall of Fame committee. These people who are dedicated to Oneonta athletics meet several times during the year, and for whatever reason, it works out in the end. We go through hundreds of names, several nominations, and certainly spend an awful lot of time trying to make sure that those people who enter the held halls of our Hall of Fame are worthy. And I can assure you that we've done it again. We have brought forth a wonderful class of new Hall of Famers. But I would like those people who are on the committee to stand so we could recognize your efforts. Vince Foti, if you could please stand. Vince. Gary Holloway. Gary. Dick Burr. Dick. Al Sosa. Al, over here. Jim Baker. Jim. Dee Davidson. Dee. Molly Dolan. Molly. Tracy Ranieri. Where's Tracy? And of course, Jeff Hazard is our sports information director, and he could not be here today. Andy Spence is Andy, and Dan McGraw here. So thank you very much, committee. You know, I try to think what makes a Hall of Famer, and I believe when we induct the following individuals, they're going to, in their own words, tell us, and I think you're going to be able to determine why these individuals were chosen. And in many respects, it's not just a simple feat. You know, I always think of what makes an outstanding individual, whether it be an athlete or a coach, and one of the first things that comes to my mind is a belief that they have the ability to accomplish something. And beliefs are good, but you have to have the passion that goes along with it. Last night at our Hall of Fame dinner, I think I used the example of Muhammad Ali, who didn't go around saying, I think I'm the greatest. I think we remember, some of us who can remember back in those days, he went around saying, I am the greatest. I am going to do this. And these Hall of Famers represent that passion. We're going to do this. I am going to accomplish this. I do have those goals. You know, somebody used to say that when you're talking to an athlete and you ask them to do something, if the first words out of their mouth is, well, Coach, I'll try, then you're going to say, well, wait a minute, try? What's that mean? Well, trying is a kind of a conflicting word. If I asked everybody here to try and stand up, you'd be, well, what does he mean? Do you want me to stand up or does he want me to sit down? Good athletes, good coaches do it. They do it. They don't try, they get it done. And once again, these 7 individuals got it done. And we're very proud of their accomplishments. What we're going to do is, this isn't for me to talk, we're going to allow our inductees to now take over. And what I would like to do is this. I am going to read the name of our new inductee. When I read their name, I'd like to have the inductee just stand in front of their chair. When I get done, I would like to have them come forward at that time, and we will obviously recognize you, and you will have time, as you know, to talk. And so, without further ado, our first inductee into this year, 2003, Hall of Fame is Madelyn Betzig, Jolliffe. Madelyn. Madelyn Betzig Jolliffe was a standout performer for the women's lacrosse team from 1983 to 1986. During her career, she was an All-New York State selection twice and was a regional All-American 2 times. She is amongst the all-time leaders in goals scored, assists, and points, and is the single-season assist record holder, which she set in 1985 with 27. She still has the record. Betzig Jolliffe is currently the Corporate Relations Manager for Smith Barney, where she has been for the last 3 years. Prior to that, she was a registered sales associate for Prudential Securities. On behalf of the college, it is my pleasure to induct Madelyn Betzig Jolliffe into the Oneonta Athletic Hall of Fame. Madelyn.
I just want to thank everybody for making this all possible. I was pretty surprised to get the phone call when I got it, and very excited because I truly loved my 4 years here at Oneonta. And it meant a lot to me that everybody felt that I was worthy of this award. And I'm glad that my mom and dad and my husband Bruce is here to see this. And I haven't been here since 1987. So when I got here, it was quite a shock to see how incredibly beautiful this campus has become, and the effort everyone's put into it to make it just beautiful, absolutely fabulous. I was shocked and love it. Thank everybody for making this possible. Thank you.
Our next inductee, Ronan. Ronan Downs was a 4-year member of the men's soccer team from 1974 to 1977. During his career, the team earned 2 NCAA berths and won an ECAC championship. He was a 3-time All-SUNY and 2-time All-New York State selection. Downs started 56 of 57 career games played and totaled 42 points on 9 goals and 24 assists. He was chosen by Soccer Monthly magazine as an All-American at the conclusion of his senior year. Downs was drafted in 1978 by the New York Eagles of the American Soccer League and played for the Las Vegas Seagulls of the ASL in 1979. Since 1979, he has played and coached soccer teams in and around New York City and presently is the coach of the New York Athletic Club of the Cosmopolitan League. His team has won 6 Division I titles and has made 1 trip to the Final Four of the National Cup. Downs, who earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Economics from Oneonta, has spent his entire professional life as a restaurant and bar. On behalf of the college, it is my pleasure to induct Ronan Downs into the Oneonta Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much. Welcome to everybody, especially Fred Busk. Traveled from Rochester. Where are you, Fred? I haven't been so well. Thank you for coming. My 4 years in Oneonta were very special, especially coming from another country. And unlike many of the players who came before me, I recruited myself. I was in Ireland studying accounting, and I'd probably be on part one if I stayed there, making a tea for the other colleagues. But what happened was I met a lovely American girl who told me about colleges here for that you may be able to get a scholarship. And one of them was Oneonta State. I wrote to Garth, and he replied. And then I had to write to Alan Caswell, which I sent him a letter expressing my interest in sharing my culture with Americans, and hopefully we could both mutually benefit. Anyway, just to move on to June 3rd, 1974, I arrived on a Trailways bus to Oneonta, and I couldn't get over how beautiful it was. When I got out of off the bus, there was this very tall gentleman. I didn't know if he was so tall or the bike was so small. He got a little motorbike, and I was looking, and Garth comes over to me. John Garth down on the coach. I was wondering, who are we both getting on this bike together? Anyway, of course, Jean was there, and she gave me a lift up to the college where I met Hal Chase, who was a larger-than-life character in my mind. He reminded me of Sergeant Milko, actually. And we spoke, and I felt like I was getting signed for the New York Knicks or something. So then we went up to see Alan Caswell. And Alan had questions for me regarding my transcripts. So, luckily, Alan couldn't read Irish, because all my transcripts were in Irish, and they weren't exactly flattering. But he did say he liked the letter I wrote him. So on the merit of the letter, I was accepted into Oneonta. And afterwards, we went to the Hunt Union, where I think I was macaroni and cheese or something. I thought it was Georgie West who signed for Man United. It was amazing. So that was the start of it, and I always remember after saying, what's he? He's never seen me kick the ball. I could be useless. So that afternoon we had a trial up in the field here with Garth, both his sons, Mark and Greg Stam. I think they were about 8 and 6 years of age. And I guess I passed the trial. And that night we missed the bus. I missed the bus back to Albany. I was quite upset because I had a great night planned in Albany. So I was out with Farouk Qureshi, who you all know, and Joe Howitt. I had lunch or dinner in their house. And then I think they put a TV on, and Kojak or something came on. I said, I'm not watching TV all night. So Joe said, you better take him downtown. So that was the beginning of downtown. I didn't get home until 6:30 in the morning. Farouk stayed 10 minutes. I stayed for 10 hours. And I met the welcoming committee. And it was 6:30 a.m. when I was going home. I said, I think I'm in the right place. So that's why I stayed in Oneonta. But there's a few people I would like to thank sincerely, and that is my dad, who just passed away a few weeks ago, who encouraged me to come to the States. And it was a great encouragement. He said, well, do what you want to do, Ronan, but he didn't stop me, which was wonderful. Joe Kehoe, who was in the athletics department over in the old building, who was very, very good to me, and Guy Stanton, who was very good to me. Phyllis Lane, who looked after many of the foreign students. I don't look at my notes right now. Make sure I don't forget something. Alan Caswell, of course, but no one more than Garth and Jean, because and a meal to eat. And it's extraordinary how quiet Garth is, but how much he does. And he did it for everybody. So I got to thank you for that, Garth. Okay. One more. Also, I'd like to thank Farouk Qureshi, who introduced me to the Smiths, who got me a job in the summertime out in Medicoach, and introduced me to Al Lang, who got me a job in Willsbach. They were all very, very good. So, and Dan Casey is another man I'd like to mention, and George Whiteson. So, just mention regarding the foreign student program, I think in this year in particular, and we see how the world is in total chaos, it would probably be advisable if there were more foreign students coming to the United States and more Americans going abroad. I think perhaps we might get to know people better, and it may avoid wars in the future. So I really would encourage foreign student development. And having said that, I want to thank you all very, very much. I'm very honoured, and I'd like to meet Carletta, my lovely woman, and my son Thomas. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ronan. Boy, the more you get into these stories. Okay. Our next inductee, Nicole, Gervasio, Forrest. Nicole. Nicole Gervasio Forrest distinguished herself in the classroom and as a varsity starter for the field hockey team from 1990 to 1994. The honors accumulated during her outstanding career are numerous for her accomplishments as a student athlete. Athletically, she was a 4-time regional All-American, twice being selected to the first team. She was a 4-time selection as an All-New York State performer and was tri-captain of the field hockey team as a senior. She led the team in scoring as a sophomore and senior and helped lead her teams to a combined 54 and 33 record. During her 4 years, including an ECAC championship in 1991. Her academic accolades include being selected in 1994 as a recipient of a New York State Women's Collegiate Athletic Association Scholar Athlete Award, which is highly competitive. 3 times she was named to the College Field Hockey Coaches National Academic Squad, while being a 4-time honoree on the SUNY Commissioners List and All-Academic Team. As a senior, she was a recipient of the Oneonta State Female Scholar Athlete Award. Gervasio Forrest was a magna cum laude graduate in political science in 1994. Since 1995, she has been employed by Butler Pappas Law Firm in Tampa, Florida, where she currently is the Assistant Client Relations Manager. On behalf of the college, it is my pleasure to induct Nicole Gervasio Forrest into the Oneonta Athletic Hall of Fame. Nicole.
Brief, since I didn't take the public speaking courses at Oneonta. I want to thank my friends and my husband for sharing this with me, and I wanted to mention that Steve Gardner said last night that the inductees have made their mark on Oneonta. Well, I want to let Oneonta know that you made your mark on me. That goes both ways. And the things that I did here and the accomplishments and basically the time I spent on the field hockey field was probably one of the best times of my life. And you know, you don't know it then, but as you get older, you realize how important that time was, and I hope the current student athletes realize how special their time is here on the athletic field, competing, especially when you love the game as much as I did, and the spirit of competition. And I'm glad to see that everybody's doing so well, especially the soccer teams, and the field hockey team is doing well. And I think this facility is wonderful. The new turf field is great. Everything happens after I leave. But I just want to, I want to let, Oneonta, the athletic department, the coaches, you really need to know that you do make a mark on people. You have an effect on your athletes, whether you realize it at the time or not. A lot of the athletes don't realize until they leave how important, how significant their time here and the years that they competed, because it's never the same. And the spirit of competition, to this day, I mean, I've been out 9 years now, and I still, to this day, can remember certain games, certain shots, certain goals, certain losses. And you can remember them like yesterday, and I carry that with me. The things you learn, discipline, hard work, competition, everything, you carry that with you into your careers, your family life, and it's a wonderful experience, and I thank you for this honor. I think this is a great thing that you guys do, and it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Our next inductee, Donald Jester. Donald. Donald Jester was a three-sport athlete for Oneonta, competing in soccer, basketball, and baseball from 1953 to 1957. He earned 10 letters as a varsity athlete, with his biggest impact being in the sport of basketball and baseball. Jester eclipsed 1,000 points in basketball and was 15-1 as a pitcher during his career. After graduation, he played 10 years of semi-professional baseball for the Milford Max, where he was an all-league pitcher. Jester graduated with an education degree and spent 35 years as an elementary, middle school, and secondary teacher and guidance counselor. In 1957 and 58, he received the Outstanding Teacher of the Year Award in the East Islip School District, which to me is one of the most outstanding accomplishments you have. On behalf of the college, it is my pleasure to induct Donald Jester into the Oneonta Athletic Hall of Fame.
Everyone in our family often considered my sister, Betzig, who is here today, that she was the best athlete in the family. One of the determining factors was that she could jump over the parking meters on Main Street in Oneonta. So it came to me, it came as a surprise when Diane Davison, the Director of Alumni Affairs, called to tell me that I was selected to be inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame at the State University of New York College at Oneonta. I never imagined that a 5'10", 155-pound Chuck Taylor wearing kid from 20 Madison Avenue, Oneonta, would be standing here 50 years later in this place of honor. I would like to thank the college president, Dr. Alan Donovan, and the Hall of Fame Committee for bestowing on me this special honor. I would also like to pay tribute to my former coaches, Hurley McLean, Jerry Wright, and the late G. Hal Chase. Growing up here in Oneonta with 10 brothers and sisters, I have many fond memories of Oneonta High School and the college. I've always been a team player and faculty and friends and coaches, teammates and family have played an important part in whatever I have accomplished. They all should know that their contributions, large and small, did not go unnoticed or unappreciated. They should all know that their contributions, as I said, I'll always remember. To be honored in this manner is a tribute, and I thank them. A few special people have enriched my life. They are my own personal Hall of Fame. My partner for 43 years, my wife Dee, my four wonderful children, Jonathan, Jane, Brian, and Kevin, who were all great athletes in their own arenas, and to my brothers and sisters, whose journeys in life have led us in different paths, but they have come full circle, and we have become a close family again. And lastly, a special place for my late father, who is my biggest supporter and my most loyal fan. I can't imagine how proud he would be to see me up here today. We did good, Dad.
We had a phone call a few days ago that Magrin was not able to make the trip back to Oneonta for personal reasons. On his behalf, we have asked his son, Dave Irby, to step in for Juddy. So at this point, I would like to have Dave Irby stand, and we will be inducting Juddy Magrin. Judson Magrin was a two-sport athlete for Oneonta from 1965 to 1969 and made his mark in the sport of baseball. Magrin was considered to be the big game guy when it came to who would draw the pitching assignment against the big schools in the region. Magrin finished his career with an 11-5 record and 116 strikeouts while also driving in 42 runs. He was a three-time All-SUNY selection and led the conference in earned run average in 1968 when he was a first-team pitcher. After graduating from Oneonta in the spring of 1969, Magrin became a reporter for the Oneonta Daily Star, where he spent 5 years as a sports reporter and editor. In 1975, he headed south to Florida and began working as a reporter for the Sarasota Herald-Tribune. He retired in 1999 from the Gainesville Sun, where in 1988, he and other reporters won the Society of Professional Journalists Green Shade Award for investigative reporting. They were selected for their reporting during the NCAA investigations of the University of Florida athletic program. On behalf of the college, it is my pleasure to induct Judson Magrin into the Oneonta Athletics Hall of Fame. On his behalf, his son, Dave Irby.
Thank you, everybody, for coming here today, and I apologize for Judd's absence. It was a personal situation that he deeply regrets that he cannot be here, so I get to entertain you. I'd like to start by thanking all of you for allowing me to accept this honor for Judd. I'd also like to thank Diane and Molly for their support. I'd also like to say thank you to my wife, Colleen, for putting up with me this week because I've been pretty nervous. Thank you to my wonderful family. Judd Judd wrote a speech, and he sent this to me last week, and I will read this. And this is definitely in Judd's words. My apologies to President Donovan, Ms. Davidson, and the selection committee for not being here to accept this honor. But I must say I am even more honored to have a man pitch hitting for me, who I love as my son. David and I have shared many wonderful moments, so it makes me proud to share this one with him. We learned to share the simple pleasures of baseball together, in spite of society's unrelenting attempts to ruin it. For me to be in a group that includes my mentors, Gar Stam, Don Axtell, and Don Flewelling, as well as my friend and teammate Steve McMullen, puts me in pretty high cotton. My thanks to them and the committee for this honor. Finally, I will be forever grateful to Oneonta State for giving me 4 of the finest years of my life and clearing a path for my adult life. I only ask one more thing. Kick Hartwick's arse, even though those aren't the words that he used. Thank you.
I would have said the real word. Our next inductee, McHugh. William. I know him as Billy, so I might slip here. William McHugh was a 4-year starter for the wrestling program at 134 pounds. He was a 3-year captain, 2-time All-New York State, and 3-time NCAA qualifier. In 1984, he earned All-American honors, and in 1985 was ranked 3rd in the country in his weight class. McHugh graduated from Oneonta with a degree in food and business and received a master's in fitness management from the United States Sports Academy. He was the owner of Fitness Unlimited Personal Training Center from 1988 to 2001 before selling the business and starting Fitness Consulting Incorporated, which is a home-based health and fitness consulting and personal training business. You know, a lot of times with our inductees, some of them I have not seen. I wish I was around earlier to see them, but I saw Billy wrestle, and he was one outstanding wrestler. And on behalf of the college, it is my pleasure to induct William McHugh into the Oneonta Athletic Hall of Fame. Billy.
I just want to thank the committee for honoring me with this induction, and to be among so many fantastic athletes is quite an honor. I had a similar situation as Ronan. I looked at several colleges, drove around and visited many, and Coach Al Sosa had me come and meet him here in Oneonta. When I visited, he was wise enough to put me up in a house off campus with a bunch of wrestlers. And I stayed overnight, and of course we went out to various parties and went downtown to wee hours in the morning, and the rest is history. So we had, you know, just again, Oneonta being such a phenomenal all-around school. Enjoyed the experience all around, as well as the wrestling experience. I first just want to thank my parents for coming. They traveled down from Vermont and for getting me to all those practices, all those years, and for being there and supporting me at all the matches, despite bringing up 9 other kids. Also for all my friends for making it down today, and supporting me throughout the years, and my siblings for being here. Especially my brother Kevin, who started the ball rolling. He was the first of 4 brothers to wrestle, and kind of looked up to him, and got very involved because of that. Definitely want to thank Coach Al Sosa, not only for all the time that he spent with me developing the skills of wrestling, but also helping to develop me as a student, as well as a person as a whole. And lastly, my wife Kathy, who we met here in Oneonta, and for putting up with me and supporting me when having to make all those weights and dealing with my practice and traveling schedule, and through all my wins and all my losses. Wrestling has taught me many things, and has taught me has helped me in business, has helped me in many personal achievements, and as well as just in life in general. The 3 things that stand out, I think, most is, number 1 is self-confidence, to believe in myself, and yes, I can do it, I can win. Persistence would be number 2. That tied match, when you have to go into overtime, and to have the perseverance in the face of adversity, to keep going on and take on life's challenges and be able to come on top a winner. And I think the last lesson was balance. Obviously, to be an excellent wrestler, you need real good balance, and not only on the mat, but also, balance, enough food, but not too much food, enough rest, train hard, but don't overtrain. And, more recently, I think wrestling has taught me how to balance my life, and to, balance your exercise program and sleep and diet, but also just to balance what's most important to me, which is my health and my family. So I want to thank everybody again for this honor.
Thanks, Billy. Our last individual that we are going to induct today, Coach Don Flewelling. Don? Don Flewelling is the most successful men's basketball and softball coach in the history of the college. During his tenure at Oneonta, his teams amassed over 500 combined wins, while making numerous postseason appearances, including the ECAC and NCAA tournaments. His 1977 basketball team played for a national championship, while his 2001 softball team won a school record 38 games and came within 1 game of earning a trip to the College World Series. His players earned honors at every level, and his teams were consistently ranked amongst the national statistical leaders for both sports. Labeled as an innovator by his coaches, his coaching peers, he was the first coach to offer basketball camps for post players in the country in 1977. His Big Guy and Tall Gal camps just celebrated 25 years as one of the premier basketball camps in New York State. Flewelling retired in 2001 after more than 30 years of service to Oneonta. He was a teacher, a mentor, and coach of many of the greatest athletes to put on the Red Dragon uniform. On behalf of the college, it is my pleasure to welcome Don Flewelling to the Oneonta Hall of Fame. Don?
Well, this thing's been going along smoothly. Now we're going to screw this thing all up. 25 years, I found that job a lot easier than what I'm about to do now. And as we've seen 54 other people come through in the last 4 years, why, it's been a joy to watch and to see them be inducted and for the college to honor them. I'd like to thank the committee, of which I'm a member, and have the deciding vote. There was 3-3 this year, and I got in, and I have no idea how I did that. I'd like to thank President Donovan. I just wish he had been here for my entire career rather than the last few years of it. I think we'd have done some more things. Paula Damo, Dee and her staff, and my inductees today. You've done a great job. My family is here, and as you get older and your kids go and they move away, it's amazing to see them all come back at once. Last night we had to step over people who were sleeping on the floor. I had some of my former assistant coaches come, and we found places for them. Some of them had to sleep with the cat, some with the dog, but we got them all in, and I appreciate them being here. I have my brother-in-law and sister-in-law here, Bob and Janet Sutton from New Jersey. They came up, two of the most talented people that I know. I wish I had some of their skills. I have my family here, my sons Matthew, Curtis, and Derek are all here. First time we've seen them together. All got nice haircuts. They look pretty good today. My wife of 37 plus years is here. She's actually raised 4 kids, those 3 and me, and she's still trying to raise me, and she's doing a pretty good job. Okay? But what she's had to go through for 37 and a half years as the wife of a coach, I can't tell you. She's got more stories than anybody around. It was tough the first few years because I met her in the state of Indiana, and the reason I went to the state of Indiana was to get more basketball background because that's a state that has a lot of basketball. And so she knew what she was getting into, I think, a little bit. I might add also, my brother-in-law was in the movie Hoosiers, so that really enhances him to me because he was in a basketball movie. In 1964, before I went to Ball State University to take a master's degree, I had a chance to go and hear Bear Bryant of Alabama speak at a clinic in Chicago. And I was a young coach. And when you get out of school as an undergraduate, you think you've got all the bases covered. You think you know everything. And I was on some successful teams at Cortland, so I had all the answers. But I still was a person who tried to seek more answers. So I went to hear Bear Bryant talk in the late summer of '64, and he said, boys, he goes, to be a good coach, he says, you got to put the golf clubs away. And he says, you also got to buy a house near a golf course, so when you get your ass fired, you can sell a house quickly. So that's something that I immediately took to heart. My house still sits on the first tee of the country club. Hal Chase was the first person we inducted here. And he's the common thread that you hear a lot of people talk about when they get up here. And I don't want to get through the speech without talking a little bit about this guy. He was not a perfect guy in any stretch of the imagination. But I worked under 2 or 3 athletic directors. One was a guy named Bob Primer out of Ball State who, when I went out, I was going to coach 3 sports out there, and he says, you're going to coach basketball? Yeah. Anything you need, we got it. You're going to coach baseball? The baseball coach is also our football coach. Anything you need, you got it. You're going to coach soccer? We don't care about soccer. You know, at a 65-yard field, we had to pick up the beer cans every day off the field. Only had one goal, you know, and we're playing Notre Dame, University of St. Louis, Purdue, all those schools. Anyway, so I got my introduction a little bit there as to how they felt about soccer in the Midwest. But Hal Chase, when he brought me here in the fall of '67. He hired me from Cortland. And I came in as the assistant basketball to Ed Casper, who, by the way, was a rock. The guy was a rock. And also assistant to Garth in soccer. And I had the honor of coaching the freshman baseball team here for Don Extell. And those were great years. Those were the days when if you coached everything. You know, if they had a paddleball team, I'd have coached that, and whatever they gave me, you say, well, I'm going to do that. And as the guys who are in the staff, they know we taught 18 hours a week. We did everything. But I'll tell you what, coming from high school, it was easy. Because in high school, you had bus duty and all the other things that went along with those things. Hal Chase got across a lot of things to me. And he said, always remember this. He says, you're here for the students. And how we as a faculty relate to the students and take care of them when we're here is going to be how successful you are. He says, don't ever forget that. He says, if you don't have the students, you're unemployed. And so it was something as a young coach that ingrained in my thing. We're here for them. And the one thing that I got from Hal more than probably anything else was loyalty. And it's amazing to me that over that building over there is named after him. After he went through the trials and tribulations that he went through, to still have a building named after him. You know, so I have a lot of respect and love for Hal Chase. There's a lot of people that helped me get to this point today. And it's like the farmer who looks out and he sees his pig on somebody else's roof. And he says, I know that pig had help getting there. So there's a lot of people that I want to thank. When I went to Cortland, I played basketball for a guy named Pete Corey, who went on to become the president of the college. And I also played some baseball and some soccer there. And I took a class with Pete Corey. And I forget the name of the class. I probably wasn't paying attention. But what he wanted us to do was to write down on that particular day where we wanted to be 3 years or 3 to 5 years from that time. And so I wrote down on my 3x5 card, Pete, I want your job. And so 2 years later, you know, after I had graduated and went to graduate school and didn't really apply to that graduate school and got called in halfway through my graduate school year, they're going, do you have a degree, Flewelling? And I said, yeah. And Pete Corey, my coach, had done all these things for me. And then he went and hired me back after I was teaching in high school. He called up and had a job for me. And I battled this guy for 4 years because I was not a great player, you know, and I couldn't understand why, you know, how things were happening, but it was my coach. See, he had confidence in me, and he was doing things for me behind the scenes. And so when Hal Chase went to visit Pete Corey, who was his classmate at Cortland, okay, that was how Hal Chase found out about me and how I wound up here at Cortland, or at Oneonta State. So it's funny how things come full circle. I'd like to say some things about the staff that I worked with. And what I tried to do with our staff here is we had a wonderful group of people that were here in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I tried to learn something from each one of those people. From Don Ball, always be one step ahead of everybody. In terms of, he knew what you were going to say to something, but he already had the statement that he was going to say to that, and he also knew when you said that, what he was going to say to that. So he was always 2 and 3 steps ahead of almost anything that was going on. So I put that in my brain. Guard Stam, the quiet big man. Just win, baby. Just win. No excuses. Just get out there and get it done. Guard Stam. Don Extell, unwavering beliefs in his system. He had his way of doing things. It was correct and good for him. And I picked that up from him. You got to stay with your beliefs, and if you believe in something, that's the way it is. Corky Lynch, never take yourself seriously. Joe Federo, use of the English language. I tried to get the word didactic in some of my halftime speeches and just never do it. And every time I talk to Joe, I say, Joe, 1 syllable, please. I'm a phys ed guy. 1 syllable. Al Marsh, the good guy, bad guy practice habits, always challenging the players, a real good guy. Dave Bailey, the appreciation of the physical part of the athlete. I mean, trainers have an awful tough job because coaches want their athletes to get out there and play, and the trainers, it's their job to protect them from the coaches. And Dave Bailey did a wonderful job that way, and I think, Dave, you probably got as many technicals on my bench as I did. in basketball. John Hurley. Is John here today? John Hurley. His diet. Apple pie, ice cream. He'd go out and run 4 o'clock in the morning, and there he would be, come back home and have 3 things of ice cream. John Hurley. Al Sosa. This guy, and still does today, steps on the mat with his athletes. Okay, and I remember him, he could lick anybody, any of his athletes, he could pin him, no problem. And Al was a fantastic athlete at Cortland, a wrestler. And I just was amazed at how he could take those kids in the mat, and even at 35, 40, 45, 50 and up, still step on the mat with those guys and be successful. Jim Baker, the politician, the compromiser, always had the answers and most of them right all the time. Ed Kassler, patience. The man had the patience of a saint. Okay? Knew the game. I probably learned more from Ed in a couple of years working with in-game situations, not practice situations, but in-game situations as to what was actually going on the floor. He was a rock, and he taught me patience. Carol Blazina, cool, calm, thinking under pressure. She always never had nothing was ruffled, and she was an excellent, excellent coach. Lee Abbott, longevity, Lee Abbott. And Steve Garner, who came with us in 1979, was his persistence. And any job they gave Steve to do, he did it, and he did it successfully. I remember him coming in, they gave him a volleyball job, and he said, "Who's got a book on volleyball?" You know, and within 2 years, he had great, great teams. So he would find a way to get it done. Now, if there's anybody I've missed out here, I'm sorry, but these guys and these ladies all added something to my career, and I appreciate them for it. There's some college staff here. Now, I'm going to make this statement to you. I think it's much tougher for athletes who have 2 and 3 and 4 years to get the job done and get on that board over there than it is for us coaches. Because we get here 30 years, so we can screw up a few years, see? And they go, he's still a pretty good guy, let's put him on the board. See? Where with these athletes, they don't have a chance to screw up. They screw up 1 or 2 years, hey, they're not going to be up there. So there's some people here at the college that I really appreciate what they did for me. Vince Foti was one of them. I could always go to Vince as an administrator. And we had some tough times here with our department in athletics in the 70s and 60s and 70s. And Vince was always somebody you could go to with some straight answers. And he would kind of unruffle the feathers of some of the other people that we were ruffling them on. Dick Burr. Dick's not here today, but I'll tell you what. Almost everybody in the school owes Dick Burr a tremendous, tremendous thanks. Because he brought a lot of kids in here. He knew everybody, and he helped me immeasurably when he went on the road to get players. Jay Powell. Jay Powell was a teacher, a history teacher here for many years, passed away in '83, and I can't believe it's 20 years already. And he would take kids to his house, sit down with them, study with them, and especially the minority kids. And Jay Powell was a wonderful, wonderful help to our athletic department. Dave Brenner. Dave Brenner was on the first soccer team in 55, and he did a great amount of things for our things. I'd like to thank the grounds crew, the people behind the scenes, and if you've coached and everything, you know how important they are. The people who set up the gym, the janitorial staff. These people here are very, very important to everything that we did. My former assistant coaches, of which many are here today. What I tried to do when I brought assistant coaches on, and here I go back to my wife, because every year she had a new assistant coach living in the house. She never knew who half of them were, until probably the middle of December. But, there she was, and we'd have, along with the dogs, the cats, and the kids, and now somebody else would be moving in. And these guys came in and did a fantastic job. And I go down from Al Marsh to George Worthmiller, who's here today, to Tom Canister, who's here today, Mark Vivian, Bill Motto, Bernie Finnegan. Bernie Finnegan would go to Alaska on a tricycle to freaking get a kid. Brad McAllister, Ricky Brown used to come here every day from Middletown, New York. He commuted from Middletown, New York, which is 2 hours away, drove up here every day. For no money, by the way. Mike Vasinilek, who's out here, who did a great job not only as a player, but as a coach. Eddie Ryder, who's with us here today. Eddie Ryder, by the way, you should know, I think still holds the NCAA record for a number of goals in a single game with 13 in a lacrosse game. Eddie is here today with us, a graduate. Steve Liska, who was with me for a while until we found that at night he was taking his Labrador Retriever and putting him in the swimming pool. And so we had to fire Steve. Because the guys are coming in, there's too much dog hair in the pool. Sean Rivers, who's not with us today. Darren Keibel, who's here, who's now in the FBI, so anybody here screwing up, be careful. The Sidewinder, Dave Odette, who's not here today. Okay. I would also talk about my softball people. Bonnie Bush, John Wong, who's now the head coach of Lafayette, Terry Norton, Tommy Optenbrow, and I want to take a special moment to talk about John Speranzi. John Speranzi's over here. He's been with the program now longer than I have, 12 or 13 years. He's like a rock. He knows the game. He loves the game. And it was a pleasure to work with John for all those years. Without him, we could not have been nearly as successful. I'm getting toward the end. Hang on. Tough to put 30-some years together here. These are the things I tried to do. I tried to feel